אני בוכה על הדור הזה.
I weep for this generation that does not know its own story. More than that, is that it does not only not know the story of its past, which is its inheritance and tradition, but it also doesn't know that story which is so close to it in time, the Holocaust, the Shoah. It knows the Shoah from one clear viewpoint only, that we suffered, and that's correct. However, it doesn't recognize the special and interesting side with which it will go out into the world tomorrow morning. And I will give them in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than sons and daughters. I will give them shemolam, an everlasting name that shall never be cut off. The Shoah. Numbers, names, places, suffering, and evil. However, how, in the middle of a situation, at the edge of existence, did the Jew deal with his values and identity? What did those burned in the fire leave us as a spiritual will for generations to come? All these things the Shemolam Institute has been researching and documenting for over a decade. The Institute brings up dilemmas of identity, faith, retaining the idea of being created in God's image, matters of the spirit, values, and ethics. Our journey in shemolam starts in a search for every little thread that could shed some more light on their spiritual world of values, of the individual and of the group. Our connection with the local authorities throughout Europe allows us entrance to closed archives and approach to hidden materials never published before. This leads us to items of infinite historical value, which reveal to us, bit by bit, the story of the spiritual world of the Jewish communities that were wiped out. The materials are collected throughout the world and brought to Israel for museum preservation and cataloging. From there, they are transferred for analysis and deeper research in our institute. The testimony which we collect in photographs and recordings are, in actuality, an additional layer to the existing findings. It is another part in the puzzle of the spiritual existence in the Shoah. Shemolam publishers reveal before the broader public the researches and findings and conclusions that we can come to from these researches. Our pedagogic center serves both teachers and pupils. The rich collection of materials in the pedagogic center is at the disposal of the public for both study and use at all times. Most of it is available in English on our internet site. Shemolam operates learning and enrichment frameworks for youth and students. For overseas youth, Shemolam Institute operates a special program with a stress on Jewish identity, Jewish leadership, and moral coping within a world devoid of values and morals. The program includes seminars that take place throughout the state of Israel, trips and intensive study days throughout Europe and the USA. We are able to learn from the adult groups that go out with us to Poland concerning the power of the experiences of the youth on our trips. Among these groups of adults, we often find the parents of the young people who just the previous year had traveled with us on the same trip. Shemolam Institute, founded with the aid of the Blisco Family Foundation of Lawrence, a special project for young producers whose creations deal with coping and values during the Shoah. The general activities of the Institute lead to multidisciplinary cooperation between Shemolam and academic institutions and institutions of education and memorialization of the Holocaust throughout the world. A delegation headed by David Zefron of Los Angeles attended the 10th anniversary gathering, which took place in the Heichal HaTarbut, the Cultural Hall in Tel Aviv. The delegation and the Institute were greeted by Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau. He praised them for the preservation of the spirit of the Jewish community and for exposing a new aspect in the remembrance of the Shoah. Much whispering wind doesn't allow the coals to be extinguished. Into those coals of faith that were there, it is possible to blow a wind and turn them into a flame that rises on its own. I will give them an eternal name which will never be cut off. It is impossible not to value and appreciate this. It is impossible not to honor this. I thank Rabbi Krieger and all those who stand with him in the work with Shemolam. During the event, the Founders Award was presented to Mr. Mayor Blisco. It included an original document in which a picture of his grandfather appears in the ghetto in the year 1942. At this time, the American Friends of Shemolam have enlisted, together with Israeli funding, to implement the burning need and vision of putting up the permanent building. This will include a pedagogical center, archives, preservation laboratories, an educational and experiential museum, and a school for the teaching of the Shoah. I would like it to be that when people say the word Shoah, the first connotation shouldn't be oy vey, but wow. A wow that in the inferno itself one can see the spirit. To lead a revolutionary perception in the awareness of the Shoah, and to bring to the remembrance a spiritual foundation, moral values, and the ability to cope. I will give him an eternal name, Shem Olam, that will never be cut off.